Have you ever gotten that weird feeling when your ride-sharing app does something strange? Well, today we're jumping into 3.33 AM, a ghost story that takes the technology we use every day and turns it into something absolutely terrifying. We're going to break down what makes modern horror tick.
So let's start with this question. How does something so familiar, so comforting, like a simple ride-sharing app, get twisted into the stuff of nightmares? That's really the terrifying question at the heart of this entire story.
You know, the best horror stories, they don't start with a big jump scare. They start with something completely ordinary, something we've all done. So let's set the scene.
So meet Nisha. She's 26, she's had a long, draining day at work, and all she wants to do is get home. I mean, we've all been there, right? And that feeling, that's exactly the point.
This is such a classic and effective horror technique. It's called grounding in reality. You start with something mundane, like booking a cab on your phone. It's this everyday normalcy that makes the terror that's about to unfold so much more believable and, frankly, way more scary. And there it is, the first little crack in reality. It's subtle, almost nothing, a tiny coincidence, the same driver 3 nights in a row. It's not impossible, just a little weird, a little unsettling. It's the very first hint that something is off.
Okay, now let's watch how the story so expertly builds this feeling of unease. It's not about big shocks. It's about slowly layering these creepy little details one on top of the other. This timeline just lays it all out perfectly. You see how the dread escalates. It starts with something you could maybe explain away, a driver taking a shortcut. But then the radio plays a news report from years in the past, and then a billboard literally repeats itself. For Nisha, the logic of the world is starting to fray at the edges.
So what's happening here is a perfect example of what's called the uncanny. It's when something familiar suddenly becomes strange and deeply unsettling. That repeating billboard, the broadcast from another time, it's all designed to make Nisha and us start to question our own senses. And now, for the moment, the story just throws this grenade of cold, hard logic right into the middle of Nisha's nightmare. This is where the real psychological terror really gets going.
This right here, this is the core of the story's conflict. You have two completely different realities crashing into each other over one phone call. In Sana's world, everything's normal. In Nisha's world, it's a living nightmare. So who's right? What is actually real?
And just when it seems like she has a lifeline, a connection to the real world, her own technology, the thing that started this whole mess, completely betrays her. The call drops. The connection is lost. And just like that, she's completely alone, trapped inside the car's terrifying reality. So, with her connection to the real world totally severed, Nisha has no other choice. She has to confront the source of this nightmare head-on.
And then we get the reveal, and it's delivered with this quiet, tragic finality that is just absolutely bone-chilling. Mahesh tells her he's a ghost. He died in a car crash a year ago, on this exact night. And sometimes he says the app just glitches.
You know, what makes this so effective is that Mahesh isn't some evil monster. He's a tragic figure, a victim of a hit and run. And now he's stuck in this horrifying loop, reliving his last journey over and over. It adds this layer of sympathy and sadness to the terror, which makes it even more disturbing.
All right, let's talk about the ending. This is where the story gives you a moment to breathe, a false sense of security, only to hit you with its final, most devastating blow. So the story gives us this classic horror trope, right? Nisha wakes up, her friend tells her the cab was canceled, it must have all been a dream. And we, the audience, we start to relax. We lower our guard, just in time for that final, brutal twist. But then she checks her phone. The same phone that betrayed her earlier now holds this undeniable, terrifying piece of proof. There's a new photo in her gallery, a photo she knows she did not take. And look at the timestamp, 3:33 a.m. That's impossible. That's a moment in time when she was supposedly asleep on that bench. It's a single piece of digital data that proves the entire horrifying experience was real. And this is the real core of the terror. It's a piece of digital evidence that just completely shatters the line between the supernatural and our reality. The photo proves the ghost wasn't just in her head, he's in her phone now. The nightmare is real, and she has the picture to prove it. And that's really the terrifying genius of a story like this. It takes our everyday technology, something we trust without a second thought, and it infects it with this supernatural virus. It leaves us with a question that's going to stick with you long after this is over.